Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 241, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, and I hope you are having a lovely week. The weather's absolutely gorgeous here right now. We're having a very sunny week. So, I have a lot of things to talk about today, and the format's going to be a little different this week than in usual because of one of the things I want to talk about, and you'll understand that a little bit more in just a minute. But I wanted to let you know I'm going to put a list of timestamps for you to refer to if you do not want to watch everything that I've got for this week. I'm going to put it in the drop down bar on, like down below. It's not really a drop down bar, but the down below section in YouTube, and it'll also be at the beginning of the show notes on Ravelry in the episode thread. So just to give you some reference, I'm going to start by talking about some spinning. Then I'm going to talk about a lot of knitting, but just a little bit about all of that knitting. Then I've got some new stuff to show you and talk about. We're going to talk about the knit along a little bit, and then I do have a question from the Do You Have Questions thread that I'm going to answer this week. I think that's everything for 90%. 10%, I've got some 10% stuff to talk to you about. And then I will have shop news at the very end. And that's going to include some information about a new Instagram account that I want to tell you about. My new self-striping yarn club that is going to have signups beginning tomorrow. So that's the Legends, Myths, and Fairy Tales Club. So there'll be information about that. Information about the update that will be happening on Friday, and if I have time, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming knit along that's going to be going on in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group over the summer. If I run out of time, I'll tell you about it next week, but that's on my agenda. So those are all of the things that I have planned to talk to you about today. So if one of those interests you more than another, or you'd rather skip something, just look at the timestamp list and you'll be able to jump ahead to wherever you want to go. Let's get started. I want to talk to you about my spinning first. I finished the Tempted fiber. I told you last week that I was in the middle of plying it, and I wasn't able to get it done before I recorded last week, but I did get it done. It is so pretty, and I've not soaked it yet, and that's the only reason it's still here and not mailed out to its recipient. But here it is. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh, I am so thrilled with how this turned out. This was some merino fiber by Tempted Dye Works. Tempted Yarn and Fiber. I'm not sure what her whole business name is, but it's Tempted. Yeah, it was lovely. It took forever to ply, like I said. I ended up with 500. Let me look at my note that I made. It was over 500 yards plied, and it's definitely a fingering weight. So I am over the moon with this. 568 yards of a 2-ply. Wow. Like, this was a 4-ounce braid. That's my best yardage ever. And then I had some of this purple left on the one bobbin because I'm horrible at splitting a braid in half equally. So I just, I wound it into a center pull ball using my ball winder, and then plied the two ends together. It is not super tightly twisted. I'm not 100% sure what to do with it. Plying from a center pull ball is something new for me. It's a newer technique. I've not really done it much, and I never seem to get a good twist on it. I mean, you can see, this is going to make you laugh. Watch. Boing! It's twisty. I honestly, it's not overspun or overplied, because if you look at it, I don't know if I can get it to focus. There. I mean, you can see there's like airspace between those plies. So it's definitely not overplied. I'm wondering if I need to add more twist to it to get it to stop doing the boingy thing. I don't know. I honestly, I've never had this drastic of a spring to my yarn after it's been plied, so I'm not really sure what to do with it. If you're a spinner and you want to offer me some insight to this, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I'm just going to soak it and hang it and hope that some of that energy dissipates. I don't know. But anyway, this was, I believe, like another 60 some yards or something. So all in all, that was over 600 yards, right? Oh, this was 83 yards, this little bit. So that was what, 600 and yeah, let's go with over 600 yards. I'm not going to do the math. So that is definitely a personal best for me. So I'm going to get this soaked and dried, and then it will get sent out to the February podcast winner. The February knit along winner, Jen. This was her prize that she chose, was the fiber, and it'll be coming to you soon, Jen, I promise. Okay, so that was my spinning. I have been working again on the blue BFL on my traveler up at the mountain house. I didn't finish a bobbin, so I don't have anything to show you, but it pretty much looks the same as the other blue BFL bobbins that you've seen in the past. I've not worked anymore on the Highland Handmaids rainbow targhee that I was working on, but I will be, because I want to work on that some more. Okay, so that's all the spinning. I'm going to talk to you now about knitting. And I believe I alluded to this in my last episode, and I didn't have time to really go into it. So that's why this is probably going to be the biggest chunk of the 90% section. Stash Dash is coming. Now, Stash Dash, if you're not familiar, is a summer-long knit-along that is hosted by the Knit Girls, Leslie and Laura, who have a podcast called The Knit Girls. Anyway, they do Stash Dash every summer. And it's basically, it starts May. Starts May 26th this year and runs through August, I want to say 20th, but that might not be the correct date. 21st maybe, I don't know. You'd have to check their group. Basically, it's the dates between when Laura, who works in the school system, gets out of school for summer, and then when she goes back to school. So it's that chunk of time. And the whole idea is to just knit down or crochet down or whatever your stash, so it can be used for, you know, new items out of your stash, or for finishing up languishing whips, anything like that. And it's basically a contest against yourself. You're not competing with anybody else, but what they have is they set up different levels of meters. That's how they've been doing it recently. In the past, they've done it by weight and other ways, but lately it's been meterage. So they'll have like a 5K level and a 7,500K level, and I don't know, 10,000, I think. There's multiple levels. I think this year they're talking about having a 1,000 meter level. So it's good for just about anybody. You know, you don't have to do a lot. It all depends on the time that you've got and what you think you can put into it. Spinning is also included. So if you do like the Tour de Fleece in the summer, or Spinzilla, is it Spinzilla? I think that happens in the summer too. Any of those crazy spinning things that you know you're going to get a lot of meters out of, you know, it's a great thing to add in. And you're using up stash at the same time. So I have participated in it a few different times. I haven't done it every year. I did do it last year, and I met my goal, which I can't remember what my goal was. I think I was at like the 7,500 meter level last year. I think that's what I did. Anyway, I don't know which I'm going to do yet this year, because I have not yet tabulated all my projects that are potentials for this year. Excuse me, I'm working on that. But I'm going to take part in it. And again, like I said, it's a competition with yourself, really. Some people take this very, very seriously. And I'm verging on the edge of really taking it seriously for myself, just because I've got a lot of things that I want to accomplish. I have a whole bin sitting next to me of whips that I think are potentials for finishing during Stash Dash. And the really fun thing about this is the fact that if you've got a huge whip, like I have my Find Your Fade shawl that has, you know, it's going to have over 1,000 meters in it by the end. And all I have left is the really small last section to go. I finished that during Stash Dash, I get to count all that meterage in there. Isn't that awesome? I think one year I did it, I finished an Afghan maybe. I don't remember if I did or not. That may not have been during Stash Dash, but had I finished during Stash Dash, I could have counted thousands and thousands of yards because it was a huge, that big long, I called it a runway cozy Afghan. Anyway, so I'm just going to go through my bin here and I'm going to show you the projects that I'm going to hopefully complete during Stash Dash. This is going to also be a part of what I've worked on this week because some of these things I have actually knit on this week as well. Because some of them I'm just trying to get them as close to finished as I can. I know, it's goofy. I think I mentioned this last week. I was telling my husband about this and he's like, that sounds completely arbitrary, like just, and I'm like, well, maybe it is, but it's fun and we enjoy it because we're knitters. Okay, so anyway, the first project that I'm going to work to finish this summer are these socks. You may remember these. These were the ones that I started out doing on the 9-inch circulars. So this was my 9-inch circ experiment socks. This was the first sock, and you can see from the cast on down to right about here, that was all done on the 9-inch circ. And that is the point where I said, nope, I really don't like knitting on 9-inch circ, so I transferred it to a regular, longer circular needle and finished it magic loop, which is why the fabric looks so much different. And then the whole second sock was also done on magic loop. I thought it's interesting, if you look at the cuffs, the cuff of the one that I did on the 9-inch and the cuff that I did on magic loop, the 9-inch cuff is way tighter. Same number of stitches, but it's like you can see, this one's way tighter. Everything else is pretty much the same. I actually just finished the second socks tube this morning. All these need are their afterthought heels, so that's what I'm going to leave for Stash Dash. Do you see what's wrong with this one? Right here? There was a knot in the yarn. I had that much to go, and there was a knot in this yarn. This is Patton's Croy FX. Which is beautiful. I absolutely love these colors. I love how the colors blend. And then you get down here and you have this hard break because there was a break in the yarn and it was knotted together in two totally different places in the colorway. So I know it's not a big deal because it's a toe. Nobody's going to see it, but still it was frustrating to have gotten that far. So anyway, here's the tag, Patton's Croy FX. Croy Socks FX. This is definitely not a fingering weight yarn. This is more of a sport weight because you've got 166 yards in 50 grams. So that is what, 332 yards for 100 grams. So that would be like a sport weight. Definitely a sport weight yarn. These are fairly bulletproof socks because I was doing them on 1.5s, US 1.5s. I probably could have even gone up to 2s, but they're going to be very, very warm. And I actually like them. They're quite dense and I think they're going to be comfy. It's really funny. The second sock, though, you can even see, even though I did this whole thing on magic loop, I got to about here. And that's where it had been languishing. And then from here on down is what I just finished in the last couple of days. Can you see the change in my gauge? Like you can see right here, it goes boink, it goes in. My gauge is so much tighter what I did these last few days. It's so funny. Anytime I leave something sitting for a long time and then I go back to it, almost always my gauge is completely different. For a sock, it really doesn't matter, but I just thought it was kind of funny. So that is a Stash Dash project to be completed. Okay, I'm just going to go down through this bin in no particular order, so who knows what we're going to see. All right, next. Oh, okay, next. This is my, you just saw this. I didn't work on this really much more. I probably did like a couple rounds, but this is that sock blank that I started knitting at my show the weekend before last. So this is as far as this is. This is probably going to be movie knitting for me. You know, it was funny because I'm going to a movie tonight with my son, and I thought, I don't think I have any socks on the needles that are movie friendly, but this one actually would totally work. I wasn't going to put an afterthought heel in this sock though, but if I take it to the movies, I'm going to have to because I'll get past the point of where I want to put a heel in. unless I just make them really long socks. I don't know. We'll see. But this is one of my sock blanks with sparkle, my happenstance with sparkle blanks. It was one of the hand-painted ones that I did last fall. So hopefully this pair will get done, because this is a really fun pair. See, the projects that I've been picking, my whips, are ones that I feel like are done at least halfway or more, and they stand the best chance of getting finished. But this is just a plain stockinette sock, so even though it's still in the very beginning stages, I feel like it has a good chance of getting done, especially if I use it for like movie knitting, things like that. Plus, I'm going to have, well, I'm going to have car knitting time this summer. A little bit more about that later. But that will be in there too. So car knitting time is always good for those kind of projects. Okay, what do we have next here? Oh, okay. This is the shawl. I did not work on this anymore this week, but this is the, what's the name of it? The water birch shawl. So this is that, here I'm trying to hide the chart and the directions. Sorry. The water birch, it's the bulky weight shawl that I had started last week and you saw. I really don't think I've done any more on, I may, actually, you know what, I take that back. I think maybe I did do not a full other pattern repeat, but I think at least half of another chart repeat. So you can start to see those little leaf things, motifs things. Oh my gosh, the words. So you can see that is pretty well formed there. And so I'm on the second one. Again, I can only knit on this a little bit at a time because the bulky yarn with the big US 11 needles or 10s, or no, these are 11s. It's hard on my hands. So the yarn that I'm using for this is Sheep Shop 2. It's a discontinued yarn. It's been in my stash forever and ever, and I would love to get it out. So that's what I'm doing with this particular bit of the yarn that I have. So that will hopefully, I can't see that not getting done just because it is a bulky weight shawl. So I'd have to, excuse me, I'd have to just not work on it at all for that to not get done. Okay, next up, I should be showing you all my great project bags too. This is a Bags by Awesome Granny bag. And what were these other ones? This one is just a keep calm and carry yarn bag, and I honestly do not remember where I got that. This one is from Tangerine Designs, and it's a winter motif bag, but I think it's so cute. I love the little birds. Okay. This one's another Bags by Awesome Granny bag. I love her bags. Okay, so this is the other shawl that I had started last week and I showed you, and I did make some more progress on it. I'm actually through the very first section, which was the lazy lace section. I showed you how I had a design element moment because I didn't carefully read the instructions and they were also just a tiny bit confusing. But okay, this, I can't open this up completely because it's to the point where, yeah, I need to put it on longer needles. I need to find longer needles in the correct size is actually what I need to do. So here it is. I've gotten through 1, 2, 3 of the sections, and now I'm doing these garter ridges. I think, did I do all of them? Yes, I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. I may have one more garter ridge to go. I'll have to look at the directions. But I really love how this is turning out. I think the lace is so pretty. I love my color choices. So I'm using my yarn. This is, both of these are the bounce base. So this is Pink Cadillac and Soft Black. So Pink Cadillac is a it's actually more of a tonal speckled, not a variegated. Trying to get it to not blow out. And then Soft Black is just a semi-solid. But loving that. So this is obviously not one that's halfway at this point, but I'm really into this right now and would like to see it get done. If for no other reason, then I would like it as another show sample. So that's on the docket for Stash Dash. What do we have in here? Oh, this is a pretty winter bag. This one was gifted to me. Okay, this, oh, these, see, some of this, I don't even remember what's in these bags. This is my Hoodwinked sock project. So the yarn was called Hoodwinked. That's the colorway. And I'm doing my staggered rib. I'm trying to think who, somebody is knitting a pair of socks on a podcast that does this exact same thing. I think maybe the number of rows you do in each repeat are different, but it's basically the same thing. I can't remember who I was just watching that was doing this. I'm sorry, but all that to say is I realized that what I'm doing is already a pattern that somebody else has clearly come up with. I don't know if it's a paid pattern or not on Ravelry, but it's a pattern out there. So I will probably not ever be writing this up, although I do have details written in project pages for 2 other pairs of socks that I did this on. So if you ever want to know how to do it, you can just look there, because I think I probably reference it in this project page. Anyway, so this is the first sock. So obviously this one's not halfway done yet either. And I don't know why I have the stitch marker on there. It's probably just for showing you where it was the last time you saw it. It's not been worked on anymore. That's why it's in this bag, because it's going to be a project for Stash Dash probably. This will probably be good travel knitting too this summer. I love the colors though, and the Flying Kettle is the yarn dyer. So, okay, so that is another project. Okay, what's in here? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I'm having throat issues today. I have to tell you, this is the first time I've stopped at Starbucks in at least 2 weeks. Today was the first time. Alrighty. So this bag. Oh my goodness. I may have to go get a drink of water. This is from Frog Peak Creations. I'll hold it back here. Who is Monique. Here's her card. So she is a group member and she posts a lot. So check her out. She's in Canada. Okay, this is my anniversary colorway socks. Oh yeah, I forgot I had these on the needles too. This actually would probably be a really good one to take to the movie tonight. It's stockinette. And I probably will put an afterthought heel in this because it's a stripy pair. I'll have to steal needles back out of something else though, because I stole the needles out of this pair for the sock blank pair of socks. And these are a pair of needles that I don't really particularly like using, just because the cable is, I don't know, I may try it. The cable's just super, super flexy, and I can't remember I don't remember which needles these are. I don't know. I've talked about them before. They're just not my favorite cable. So anyway, this is just my bounce base. This is my Never Not Color colorway, which by the way, if you pre-ordered this colorway, most of it is dyed up. I'm dyeing up the rest later today. And so all of that yarn will be shipped out. Probably, if not by the end of this week, then early next week you'll be getting it. So just letting you know that. So again, it's another sock project. I always knit socks though. I'm always, socks are always something I'm working on, so it's totally conceivable that this pair could also get done for Stash Dash. Okay, moving along. Oh, this is the sock project that is in timeout in my Mountain House winter bag that Bags by Dennis gifted me. Yeah, this is my husband's Mountain House winter socks that I'm on the heel flat, or I'm on the afterthought heel. The afterthought heel was knit, and then I had to rip it back out because it was not long enough, and it has been in timeout because I am very annoyed with it. And so, yeah, the other one I have not cut the heel in yet. But this will definitely get done because I just want these done, really. But they needed to go into timeout for a while. We both needed time away from each other. But that's my bounce base in the Mountain House colorway. Somebody did ask me if I was planning to do Mountain House other seasons, Mountain House Spring, Mountain House Summer, and I am planning to. I just have not had good opportunities to take good spring pictures yet, because whenever things are in bloom, it's either raining or something, or, you know, when I see the things that I would like to be taking pictures of, it's just not a convenient time to do it. So as soon as I can get the pictures, then I can do the yarn and I can get it out there. So hopefully that'll happen before summer. That would be great, right? All right. All right, moving along. What do we got here? Oh my, oh goodness. I forgot about this project, sort of. Now I'm getting confused as to which bag is which. Do I have this in here? I try to keep bag tags. Is there a tag on the bag? See, bag makers, I really, really wish you would put some sort of identification on your bags. This could be one of two bag makers, because I remember when I got it, but I was kind of on a bag buying binge at that time, and I know it's one of two bag makers, and I don't want to say the wrong one. So the next time I show this to you, hopefully I'll be able to tell you exactly who it was. I'll have to check my Etsy purchases page. Anyway, it's a cute bag though, huh? Little campers. This is my Boosta Beanie project that I'm now losing stitches on here. Let me pick those up. This has not seen any love lately, but it's definitely over halfway complete. So I think I have in this orange color, and then I think I do this chartreusey green one more time. I think that's it, and then you close the hat up at the top. I think I kind of petered out on this just because I know the yarn weights were not the right weights to work with each other. The green is some Tamar, blacker Tamar, and the other two that I'm using are from Upton yarns, and they're definitely lighter weight than the Tamar. So, I mean, it could poof up a little bit and fill in once it's soaked when it's done. I'm not sure that it will, at least not adequately. But it's still pretty, and they're nice woolly yarns, so it'll be warm regardless. But yeah, I sort of lost steam on that and haven't gotten back to it. But that's why I'm putting it in the stash dash bin. So, yeah. The pattern is free. Just go to, I think it's the Shetland Wool Week website, and you can download the pattern from there. I don't think it's directly downloadable from Ravelry. So. Okay, moving along. Yes, how many have we had so far? I've lost track. I'm not even going to count right now. Oh, here's another sock. And this is sort of a deep stash kind of sock. This is a design pattern that I was working on probably 2 years ago. My Whimsy sock pattern. This is a sport weight sock. And I have the first one done. I wanted to knit through the second one though, so that I could make sure I wrote the pattern up correctly before I sent it out to testers. And I've just never gotten the second one knit. So hopefully this will get taken care of this summer. This is my Traveler sport weight base, and this is the magenta colorway. So, and it's in this very, very fancy project bag. My clear drawstring bag. So hopefully that'll be. I have no idea why I haven't gotten that done. Design work is always sort of at the bottom of my list just because I have so much other stuff to do. Somewhere in here, wait a minute. I think it's in here. I have the other version of that because there's going to be two versions. There's the Whimsy sock, which is that one, and then there's the little less whimsy, which omits the cable. I thought I had that in here too, and it may well be in here, and I just haven't found it yet. Oh wait, here it is. This is in a really cool pumpkin drawstring bag that, again, I do not know who this is from. I think I purchased this. It wasn't a gift. I don't remember now. If I figure it out, I'll let you know, though. I am on the second sock of this one, though. I do have the first one done. So this is a little less whimsy version of the pattern. Again, it's still sport weight, Traveler. This was my 6 More Weeks colorway from a yarn club I did. And I'm definitely beyond halfway on the second sock because I've got the heel flap done and the heel turn. I just have to pick up the stitches and do the gusset. So yeah. Again, it could be a new pattern coming out at the end of Stash Dash too. You just never know. Okay, so there's those two. They kind of go together, but they're separate projects. I'm going to save a couple of those. Okay, let's go to this one. Another Bags by Awesome Granny bag. This is my favorite size bag of hers. It's her large bag. I love it. It's so roomy. Oh, okay. I'm really excited about this project. If you remember last week, I told you I placed an order with Webs. I got my order and I cast this on. The yarn that I purchased, which remember I told you, I think I caught maybe a sweater quantity for me too. I did. It's coming. I'll show you in a minute. But mainly what I was ordering was yarn for a shawl for my mom, because I made that shawl last summer for myself, or last spring really. I finished it in the summer, out of Katia linen and Elspeth of Old Hempathy. And I started it, I told you this story I think last week. I started it while we were on vacation in Antigua last year. That's where we got engaged. And so that shawl has special meaning to me. And my mom really liked it. And I felt really bad for telling her no, she couldn't have it. So I'm knitting her one. Different colors sort of though. But the reason I thought about it was the fact that I found like, I think 6 balls more of Katia linen in my stash. I didn't realize I had more. Matter of fact, when I was making my shawl, I thought I had run out. Weird, I don't know. It would help if I kept all of my stash in the same place, I guess, but that's impossible. So anyway, I have plenty of this natural colored Katia linen to work with. And then I ordered these 3 colors of Hempathy. Now Hempathy is, oh, here's the Katia linen tag. And it is 53% cotton, 47% linen. And I've got to say, it is a very loosely plied yarn, and it is quite splitty to work with. I need to put new needles on this project because I'm splitting it. I'll show you in a sec. But the Hempathy is lovely. I love working with this. The Hempathy is what I used to make my wedding skirt last summer. And I just love this yarn. The Hempathy is made out of 34% hemp, 41% cotton, and 25% modal. I meant to look up what modal is. I used to know, and I can't remember. But that's what's in this yarn. Let's see. This one is the yellow, and it is color number 74. And this one is the green, and it is number 59. And the pink is color number 63. So anyway, so here is the shawl. Again, I'm not using any particular pattern. This is my just my basic elongated triangular shawl pattern that I've made a bazillion times now, I feel like, and I just love it because it's a nice basic shape, and I can do lots of fun things within that shape, just sort of designing on the fly. So that's what I have so far. So I started out with the linen. The linen doesn't really, does it have a color? Color number 8. That's very exciting. So we've got a segment of color number 8 here. And then I'm just doing a garter ridge and then an eyelet row and then knitting back after the eyelet row of each of the 3 colors with a garter ridge of the linen in between. So now that I've got all 3 colors, I'm going to do another wider segment of the linen, and then I will do something else with these 3 colors in eyelet rows again. I haven't decided quite what yet. But that's my plan, such as it is. It's a garter stitch shawl, and it's quite loose, but I'm using the same size needles as I used on mine, supposedly. My project notes say I used a US 7, and that's what I'm using. These are my Knitter's Pride Dreams, and they're just not pointy enough to deal with this linen without splitting it, so I have to be really careful. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I actually took my shawl out of the closet and looked at it up at the mountain house just to see if I was on, like, the gauge was the same. And it is. It's very similar. It's very, very drapey. So, and it's very open. It's meant to be open because it's a summertime shawl. My mom lives in Florida, so it'll be perfect for her. I hope she likes it. I think she'll like these colors. They're nice and bright and cheerful. So anyway, that is definitely going to be a project that gets done this summer because this is going to be her birthday gift, this shawl. And her birthday is in August. And I'm really hoping I'm going to get to see her, if not right on her birthday, right after. But I'll tell you more about that later. Okay, so that was a project. Now we have this one. Oh, this is exciting. Isn't it funny? It's like Christmas. Oh, I love it. Here's another cute little bag that I was gifted. Check out these little gnomes. Aren't they just adorable? I love this bag so much. And it was so funny because it was sitting on the table up at the mountain house the other day. And of course the cats, you know, if there's a bag on the table, they have to lay on it. But the one cat who doesn't usually bother anything, she was sitting on the table totally batting these long strings around. It was so funny to watch. Okay, so what's in here is a new sock. Oh my gosh, I know, craziness. I could take this to the movies too, I guess. It's a stockinette sock with stripes, so I could actually do an afterthought heel in this. This is a sock that I cast on because I needed to knit up a sample of it to put in a shop listing. If you are participating in Boston Jen's, Don Seller Studios Summer Splash Pad knit along this summer, which starts June 1st. I'm one of the Pro Shop sponsors for that. And as a Pro Shop sponsor, I'm able to create like an exclusive colorway or an exclusive product for the splash pad party. And so I did, and I created a self-striping yarn. And this is called the Bold Berry Swirl Splash Pad Parfait. I know, super long name, but it was so much fun because so we've got these two, the blue and the purple stripes. It's looking black, but it's not. This is like a plummy purple of the bold berries, and then we've got this like strawberry and peach and lemony swirl together. This variegated swirl stripe with speckles in there. In the middle. I am having so much fun with this. I'm going to be creating, I have ideas for several more variegated stripe yarns. But anyway, if you are participating in the splash pad party and would like to pre-order this colorway, I have those pre-orders up in the shop now. So they are available, and any of the pre-orders that come in by the 16th of this month will be shipped out by the 26th, and any of the pre-orders that come in after that will get shipped out by June 9th. The pre-orders are only open until June 1st, so you need to get it now. Anyway, this is what it looks like in the cake. And yeah, I'm having fun knitting it. I think I had this, no, I actually had this pair of needles. I think I frogged something and that got me a pair of needles that I didn't have. I don't remember what I frogged though. So anyway, another sock. Gosh, I should just count how many sock projects I have. That's kind of crazy. We are getting towards the end here. Okay, this is the huge, it's my Ravelry tote bag, and this has my Find Your Fade in it. I'm not even going to pull the whole thing out just because you've seen it a bazillion times, and I don't want to risk losing the stuff off the needles. But here's where it is. I mean, it's up. I'm at the last section. I've done the last melt, so that bright, bright green in there, that's my last color. Okay, did I lose stitches? This looks like I lost stitches here. Hang on a minute. Oh my gosh. The lost stitches thing is gonna kill me today. I really should use the little point thingies or put my rubber bands back on the ends of my needles. Okay, so this is the last color, and this is Bedazzled, my Bedazzled base in Willoughby, which that is totally blowing out. I have to bring it back here. This light is either, it's helpful, but sometimes it's just not helpful. So anyway, it's just such a really bright color. It's hard to get accurate. It's more accurate back here. So this is my final color, which I do not anticipate this taking very long at all. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. But I'm going to wait, and I'm going to leave it for Stash Dash to finish up. Okay, so that is that. Then I have 3 other projects that I'm planning to do that aren't even cast on. This one is a skein of my Squish 2.0 base, and I'm going to be making a pair of socks for my daughter for her birthday, which is also in August. So yeah, that's what this is going to become. And then in this bag, which is, I got this at a craft fair, a maker kind of fair one time. I don't remember which one. I think it might have been Handmade Arcade here in Pittsburgh. Anyway, I bought, this was the other thing that I got in my Webs order. It's more Hempathy in this really, oh, that's not the right, here, let me bring it back here. Oh, there, that's perfect. It's this like, I don't even know what color you would call this. I can't remember what it was called online, but it's like this deep burnt orange kind of color. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's color number 68 in case you're interested. And it's the Elspeth Lavold Hempathy. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, I know it's going to be a top. I bought it to make myself a top. I've got 7 balls of it. I just don't know which top yet. It's a DK weight. That's what Hempathy is. I've got several in my queue that it could become. I just have not decided which one yet. So this is sort of stretching it for Stash Dash, but it's going to be a summer top, so I'd kind of like it to be done in the summer. So that's why I'm including it, even though it's a big project that's not even begun. So I'll keep you posted on what I decide to do with that. If you have any ideas that you think would work well with it, let me know. But I'll find something. And then I think this is the last one I have in here. This is one of my DK weight color block gradients. This is the Magic Carpet colorway. And I am going to knit a Takushta cow, which is one of my patterns. I make these kits. I mean, this is one of the kits that I do for shows and everything. It has the pattern code and the yarn. Both of my Takushta cows that I have as samples at shows right now are colorways that I no longer do. So I feel the need to update my sample. And I haven't knit this pattern in a really long time, and every once in a while I get questions about it. So I thought, you know what, this would be a really good time for me to re-knit my own pattern. And I'm going to use this colorway because I like doing these kits with this colorway. It's one I almost always have. And that won't take very long. So that is one as well. So that is the summation of my hopefully, of what I'll hopefully accomplish during Stash Dash. That does not include any spinning. I would love to finish the Blue BFL. That would be my #1 spinning priority for Stash Dash. I'd like to finish the Targhee, the Rainbow Targhee too, but if I don't, I'm not as worried about that. But these knitting projects, I'd love to just knock out a whole bunch of these. And it's so funny because now that I've put them aside, and this is like the Stash Dash bin, you know what I want to work on, right? The stuff that's in the Stash Dash bin. Isn't that perverse? It doesn't really matter. I mean, that's basically, some of these projects are what I've been knitting on, and I told you about those. So anyway, that's my Stash Dash aspirations. I can't wait for it to start. It's just something fun, not a huge competition with anybody else except myself, just to see what I can get done. So, all right. So I've already shown you my web stuff for the most part. Well, actually, yeah, that is everything I got. And I have not placed any more Webs orders. I've been behaved. But all that Hempathy is what I got. The other thing I did get, except now, oh, here it is. I was going to order this through Webs, and then I just happened to check and see what it was priced on Amazon, and it was $20 cheaper, even though Webs had it on sale. And it was a set of Knitter's Pride knit blockers. I'm sure you know what these are. They basically kind of look like combs, but you use them when you're blocking instead of using like individual pins. I've been wanting a set of these for quite a while, and I've just never picked them up. So they come in the big size, and then there's these little ones that are, you know, like a half that. So I can't wait to have a shawl to try it out with. Probably my Find Your Fade. Oops, my Find Your Fade's probably going to be the first candidate to try these out with. We'll see. So I got those, but then I did get 2 other things of yarn this week from 2 different indie dyers. The first one is from Moonstone Dye Works. I don't know if you watch the Squirrel Pie Productions podcast. If you don't, you really should, because it is so much fun. The host is Tommy. She goes by Dynamite Trujillo on Instagram and Ravelry, but her name is Tommy. And she is just the most charming podcast host. I love watching her. She's got the greatest personality. I hesitate to use the word adorable to describe grown people, but she's adorable. I love watching her podcast. And she's got chickens, and you can hear the chickens in the background sometimes, which is absolutely fabulous. And then she's got a cat named Squirrel. Anyway, but she recently opened her own dye company called Moonstone Dye Works, and I really wanted to support her. And this colorway is beautiful. It's a very soft colorway. This is not, I do not believe this is undyed. This has a very pale color on it, and then there's all that speckly goodness in there. I just think it's lovely, and it's called Katamari, and that's on her Stellina sock. So check out her shop that's on Etsy, Moonstone Dye Works, and check out her podcast if you have not seen it before, because I think you'll really enjoy it. The other skein of yarn I got is one from Junk Yarn. I've never had yarns from Kemper before, and she's got some really fun colorways too. And several months ago, we did a trade, and so I got my yarn from her, and this is what it is. This is called Wheat Sea Bat. This is on her Boss sock, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And I honestly am going to admit to you at this point, I do not remember what that reference is. I'm sorry. I'm a bad person, I guess, that I don't remember. I just like the colors. There's so many wonderful, rich, bold colors in here that they just make my heart so happy. So that's what I got. So those are my two new yarns, aside from the Hempathy stash that I seem to have accumulated. Okay. The knit along. I have heard from all of the winners from April, so everybody's prizes are either out to them or are going into the mail to them. May, we are in the May quarter, or the spring quarter still. We're in May, and the May challenge is the May Flowers Challenge. And just to clarify, the qualifications are the project needs to either have a flower motif, okay, and actually something that looks like an actual flower. It can't just be yarn that resembles colors of a flower. It actually has to be a flower motif in the knitting or crocheting or whatever craft you're doing. Or the pattern that you're using has to have the word flower in it or the name of a specific flower in it. Or the yarn colorway has to have the word flower in it or the name of a specific flower in it. So you have to meet one of those criteria, and the other criteria that has to be met is a yardage criteria, and I need to check that back out just because I think it's 50 yards, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yes, 50 yards of yarn, or if you're doing a sewing project, it has to have at least a half yard of fabric. So, and please, when you post your finished object, please include your yardage in your finished object post. I hadn't specified that at first. It was sort of implied, but not everybody was doing it, so I thought I would specify it. So if you've already posted something and you don't have your yardage included in your finished object post, please go back in and modify your post to include the yardage. Okay. What else? Let's see. Questions. In the Do You Have Any Questions thread, we had a question posted about 2 weeks ago, and I meant to include it last recording, and I did not, so I'm going to answer it this time. It is by Gonna Knit, who is Paige. Hi, Paige. And she says, "You knit a lot for your husband. What a good wife you are." Well, thank you. I try. I need to knit for my husband more. I want to make him some socks. He is average height and wears a size 9-10. Do you know approximately how many stitches and needles size to cast on for DK, sport, or fingering? Thank you. I enjoy your podcast, Paige. Well, thanks, Paige. I'm glad you watch. It's nice to have you here. I have limited experience honestly, in knitting socks for men in anything other than a fingering weight yarn. And it's also very limited to the fact that I mostly knit for my husband, although I also knit for my youngest son, who's 22, but he loves my hand knit socks, so I knit for him as well. So speaking from those, as far as the needle size to use, that's going to be completely dependent on your gauge. Like when I use fingering weight yarn, I knit my socks on US 1s. That's what works best for me. You want a really nice tight gauge for socks, so that they wear well. You don't want to be able to see daylight through the stitches. So I would say, you know, whatever gives you a nice dense, not bulletproof, but a nice dense wearable fabric would be good. As far as stitches to cast on, that's again really subjective because it's based on, you know, what your husband's size is. The size 9-10, that basically tells me how long you would end up knitting them. Not width-wise, how many stitches you'll need to cast on. So I can tell you when I knit for my husband and I can actually share socks. His foot is definitely a bit wider than mine, but since socks are pretty stretchy, that's not a big deal. I end up knitting his socks slightly longer than mine usually, but in a pinch, he could wear a pair of my socks and get away with them. So I generally knit socks on 60 or 64 stitches. I believe most of the ones I've done for him, I've done 64 stitches because he likes a 2x2 rib cuff on his socks. He says he feels like they stay up better if the whole cuff is ribbed. So that's what I tend to do, and 64 stitches works well for a 2x2 rib, or a 3x1 rib, depending on, you know, which one I'm doing. So, but I can tell you that my son, my younger son, he wears, I don't know what size shoe he wears at this point, but I know his foot is approximately 10.5 inches long, and he's definitely got a wide foot and wide calf. My husband does not have wide calves. He's got pretty average calves, I would say. So I almost always do 72 stitches for my son in fingering weight yarn. Now, I would say, I mean, basically you just have to make sure it's going to go over that widest point of the foot where, like the ankle, that diagonal part where the ankle is, you know, the heel and the bend in the foot. That's usually the widest part. They need to be able to get over that. So I would just kind of play around. I mean, I wish I could give you a more definitive answer, but I really can't. As far as sport weight socks, I have knit sport weight socks, but mostly just for me, and I usually use 48 stitches. So doing that for me, and I do those usually on US 2.5s. That would fit my husband as well. If I was doing them for my son, I would probably do, let's see, if I did 48 for me, 56, I would probably do 56 stitches for my son with the bigger feet. I've only ever made a heavier weight sock than that one time. I don't think actually, I have done DK weight socks because I designed a sock using DK weight yarn, and I designed it so long ago, and I have not reknit it in years. That is not even a helpful thing for me to tell you, because let me see if I can find it. Oh goodness. I can at least tell you what it is. My original designs. The interlocked socks. They are done on a 50, no, they're done with a DK weight yarn. Oh, they can be done on sport weight as well. Actually, I wrote the pattern for both. I know this sounds silly that I actually have to read this off of Ravelry, but seriously, I did this pattern back in 2011, and it's been forever since I've done anything with it. But it's a free pattern, so you might want to look at that, and you know, that could give you a sense of where to go. The only other heavyweight pair of socks I've ever knit was a pair of worsted weight socks that I made for my oldest son when he was going on his first deployment to Afghanistan in the winter. And I was a mother, and I'm like, I want to keep my baby's feet warm. And I knit him this pair of worsted weight socks. I don't remember what size needles I used, or I don't know. All I know is I asked him, like, in a letter, I'm like, you know, have you gotten to wear your socks? And he's like, they're great socks, Mom, but oh my gosh, my feet are dying in them. They were so, so hot. Oh, here they are, the deployment socks. I used US 5s with worsted weight yarn. So, and they were not like a sock yarn at all. It was Godiva fashion trend color. I don't know. And I didn't even write how many stitches that I used. So anyway, that's the only experience that I have with heavyweight socks. So I'm sorry that's not super helpful, but I would just, you know, if you look at patterns online, the different, I'm trying to get my screen back here, sorry. If you just, not even if you want to knit that particular pattern, but I would just sort of survey a few different sock patterns that are written in multiple sizes, because a lot of times sock patterns are written sized as in, you know, like small women / large adult, or small women, yeah, women's small / men's nothing, I guess. Women's small, women's medium / men's small, and then men's large is how I've seen them done before. So, you know, take a look at that, look at what they're calling, you know, the stitches per inch, you know, the gauges, and then measure your husband's foot. You know, I always measure around like the ball of the foot, like the widest part of the foot, because even though that diagonal part with the ankle and the heel is pretty much wider than that, if you can get it around that widest part of the ball of the foot, it's often going to be appropriate for the heel as well. Also measure the calf, like if it's going to be a mid-calf kind of sock or something, measure that and make sure that it's going to be stretchy enough to accommodate his calf, because if he's got super large, like muscular calves or something, you want to be able to make sure it's not cutting his circulation off. And it just might take a little bit of math to get it correctly. I mean, some people will do socks where the calf part of it has more stitches than the foot part. You know, you can change your stitch count as you go to accommodate the appropriate foot that you're knitting for. So anyway, I hope that helps. I'm sorry I couldn't give you too many more specifics on that, but that's really all I know to tell you based on my experience. So anyway, the do you have any questions thread is there. There haven't been a lot of posts to it recently, but if you would like to ask me a question, it can be knitting related, it can be anything related, business related, personal related, to, you know, within reason. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. I would love to answer them for you on the podcast. So that's everything for 90%. 10%, basically nothing much new other than the fact that I've been riding motorcycles a little bit more lately. I actually got to go out on my new motorcycle yesterday for the first time. And I did well. I was so proud of myself for realizing that I could get on a brand new bike it's not a brand new bike, it's a 2002, but it's a new to me bike that I've never been on before, and I was able to ride it without issue. I mean, it took me a little while to get warmed up to it, but after a few minutes, I was fine. I was riding around a parking lot for a long time, and then my husband let me ride it home on the real roads. It was fun. I did okay. I did better than I did earlier in the day because I had been riding the scooter. I brought it from the mountain house down to here and back. I had a perfectly uneventful riding day. I've been feeling really comfortable, not complacent, but just comfortable, you know, not anxious the way I had been. And I got home, and as soon as I pulled into the driveway, I knew I pulled in wrong, because our driveway is, I've told you, it's the worst part of any ride for me, is either getting out of it or getting in. And I've gotten much better about pulling out. Going in, though, all of a sudden is an issue for me. I went in on a weird angle on a slope, and I went down because I wasn't going fast enough to keep the bike up. I can't tell you, I was so pissed off. I wasn't hurt, obviously. I mean, I know I probably freak a lot of people out when I talk about dropping bikes, because I seem to do that a lot. I never, if you see me looking like this, I'm fine. But yeah, I broke another piece off the bike. My husband was home, and he was busy. He had like the radio on and was using the pressure washer, and so he didn't hear this happen. And I could not lift the scooter up by myself because it was situated on a hill in a weird way, and I couldn't do it, so I had to go get him. And he came out, and he's so patient, and he never yells, he doesn't get mad, he just says, well, that was $500. I'm like, will you please quit putting a dollar amount on my mistakes? And it was not a $500 injury to the bike, but I did break a piece off, and the stupid part was I broke the same piece off when I dropped it to the other direction. Of course, I couldn't drop it in the same direction. No, I had to drop it on the other side. So at least now it's damaged the same way on both sides, right? Is that better? I don't know. I felt horrible, and I felt pissed at myself for having done it. I mean, eventually I've got to get a handle on this stupid driveway because it's not going away. It's always going to be there, and I'm always going to have to deal with it. We did talk about it later on, and he did explain to me what I probably should have avoided doing, aside from falling over, like how to avoid that in the future. So hopefully I'll get it. It's something I probably should have known, but just, practical application is often a really good teacher. Anyway, I did that, and then, because we had talked earlier in the day about going out so I could practice on the new bike. And so once we got the dropped bike in and in the garage and everything, and he went back to what he was doing, I kind of yelled at him like, so does that mean you don't want to take me out on the other bike? And he turned around and looked at me, and I think he thought I wouldn't want to go because I'd have been too frustrated or shaken up or something. He's like, if you want to go out still, I'll take you. And I was glad he said that, because I think that's what I really kind of needed to do. Needed to get back on the saddle. And then I was fine the rest of the evening. Although, whenever we came in the driveway from that ride, I almost did the exact same thing. And that's when I realized what I did, how I came in at that angle. I was able to recover with the bigger bike. It's a balance thing between the scooter and the motorcycle. Anyway, I now know. But I had a really good time on my new bike. It's probably going to be a while before I take it out solo, I think, just because it's definitely a more powerful machine than either of the other bikes I've ridden so far. And I think he would probably like to be with me a couple more times before he sends me out on my own with that one. But I feel really good about how I did on it. So anyway, the other thing I was going to mention to you was the trip that we're planning. This is going to be so much fun. Did you know that there's going to be a total solar eclipse in August? On August 21st this summer, it's going to be the first total solar eclipse that is crossing over mainland United States since, I think, 1918. They don't happen very often. I think there was one in 1979 maybe that crossed U.S. ground, but it wasn't continental, so it had to have been like, Alaska or Hawaii or something. I don't actually know. But yeah, so this is very exciting. And so a few months ago, my husband's like, we need to go somewhere where we're in the path of totality for this eclipse, like where it's a total eclipse. Because, there's a pathway for that. And then when you get out on either side of that, you'll see partial eclipse. And then the further away, you don't see as much. And like where we're at here, it wouldn't be nearly total. So originally he had suggested us going to Kentucky, because southern Kentucky, like I think southwestern Kentucky, is on the path of totality. And I totally forgot that he had mentioned this to me. And so then yesterday I had proposed a trip to Florida in August over like my mom's birthday and our anniversary, and getting to see my daughter on the way down for her birthday and everything. And he's like, well, that's fine. I don't mind doing that, but we have to be in the path of totality on the 21st. I'm like, okay. And it was like, I now remember this. So as it happens, the path of totality also totally crosses through the very center, like almost the whole center part of South Carolina will be in this pathway. And so I think that's where we're going to be, and we're going to go do that part of the trip first. And I think we're going to do it at Congaree National Park on a canoe trip, because we've also been talking about doing a canoe trip in Congaree, which neither of us have ever been there before. And so potentially we could be canoeing during this total eclipse in Congaree. He's very excited about this. I'm like, so we're going to be in pitch black on the water with alligators and cottonmouths. Is that what you're saying? Awesome. That sounds great. I'm sure it'll be fine. We still have a lot of stuff to look into on that, but that is our plan. There's a great website. It's actually www.eclipse2017.org, I believe. I'll put it in the show notes. There's a map on that website that shows the path. It's, you know, it goes through, it like does a diagonal right through the United States. So there's a lot of places that you could go see it if you're into this kind of stuff like we apparently are. I think it's cool, but my husband's super psyched about it. So yeah, and then from there, after we're done canoeing, we'll end up going down to Florida and spending some time with my mom. So, and that we'd be in the canoe in the park in South Carolina on our anniversary. So that will be an interesting way to spend our anniversary. Okay, that is everything for 10%. I'm going to do shop news next. And I do have an apology to make first off. Last Friday for the shop update, it was scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. Eastern. It did not end up starting until 7 p.m. Eastern, and it was completely my fault. My husband was home from work, and he got home and he said, okay, I need to go down and work on these 2 bikes and do this and this and this. And one of the bikes he was working on was my new one. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I mean, I had been working all day too, and I was just sitting down to spin. And so he went downstairs to start working on these bikes. It was probably about 4:30. And I was out on the porch room spinning. And about 5 o'clock, I'm like, you know what? I should probably be down there helping him. He's working on my bike. I know what he's doing. He could probably use some extra hands. So, and he's not one who would, well, that's not true. He does sometimes ask me specifically to help him, but apparently he didn't think he needed it. So I thought I would go down and volunteer to help. I didn't expect to be downstairs that long. Because I went down around 5 o'clock. I knew I had to be upstairs at 6. I had the alarm set on my phone. Well, we got into all these projects on these bikes. I totally lost track of time. I didn't think I'd been down there that long, to tell you the truth. Because time flies when you're having fun, I guess. I had not taken my phone downstairs with me because I didn't expect to be down there very long. And so by the time we were finished, I glanced at his watch and I said, oh, it's almost 7. We should eat dinner. I'm going to go up and start dinner. I said that, and it wasn't until 2 seconds later when I'm walking up the steps, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 7 o'clock. And I freaked out and I ran in the office and I immediately started activating everything in the shop. I couldn't believe I did that. First of all, I couldn't believe that 2 hours had passed because it didn't feel like 2 hours had passed. But I couldn't believe I totally missed doing the shop update on time. So if you were sitting there waiting for something to get activated and it wasn't and you gave up, I am so sorry. I don't have any excuses other than just a total brain failure. So I apologize. That being said, there will be an update this week, Friday at 6 p.m. This week's update is going to be inversible sets, gradients, and fiber. I did not bring in any of the inversible sets to show you because they're all ones that I've had in the shop before, but I do have more of those bright sets that I put in recently. So if you missed out on any of those, there will be more of those in there. And then just a lot of the other color combos that have been, you know, well loved over the years that I've been doing inversibles. So check that out. There will be a lot of inversibles. Then I have gradients, and I have gradients on multiple weights of yarn. I have lace weight gradients, which I do not do very frequently, but I do have some left from the show. This one is Frozen Fairy, which is a purple, a gray to deep plum purple. I'm sorry they're in the bags. I know they're not super easy to see that way, but the pictures on the shop will not be in the bags. I have Secret Garden, which is this taupe through a green, through different colors of magenta and berry out to brown. I have Zinnias, which this one goes from a peachy color out through pink and a medium reddish color through a lighter peach out to this sort of mulberry color. Then I have Sunflowers at Sunset, which have all these great autumnal sunsetty or sunflowery colors. So dark gold through sort of a earthenware color, green for the leaves, brighter orange, yellow, and then this deeper iron oxide red. Then this is Impressionist Spring, so that's all the colors from my new Impressionist Spring colorway in a 7-part lace weight gradient. The lace weight is my Elegance base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino silk lace weight, 875 yards in one of these. So check it out. I don't do those very often. They are very, very time consuming to do. I will have some Takusha sets, that KAL kit that I just showed you. This one is Doubletree. I don't remember which other colors I have. Let's see. There's Doubletree. There is, this is Plumage. I think there's Gunmetal. So those are some of the Takusha KAL sets. Then fingering, and those are DK weight. The fingering weight gradients I've got some on Bedazzled and some on Heavenly, I believe. This one is a Heavenly, my MCN base. This is the Dark Fire. It's a variant of the Dark Fire, but it's kind of a white through all the yellow, orange, deep red, and black. This is Party on the Coral Reef, which is a 5-color variant of that colorway. Bright, fun, summery colors, also on Heavenly. And this is Skittles, and this one's on Bedazzled, so that has orange, red, yellow, purple, green. And then I do have some heavier weight ones too. I have worsted weight ones, and this is a 5-stripe version of Secret Garden on Cozy, my worsted weight. And this is Skittles on worsted weight. There's some other ones. All of them will be in the shop in preview mode, hopefully by the end of tomorrow. That's my goal. But the update will actually be on Friday at 6 p.m. Did I mention 6 p.m.? Not 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and then the other, I have to reach behind me. The other item going to the shop will be fiber, and I only brought a few, well, 4 in here to show you. There's several more, but these are newer ones that I've never done on fiber before. Well, they're newer colorways for fiber. I've done these colorways on yarn, just not on fiber. So here, this one is some Falkland top in the Willoughby color. Willoughby was that colorway I showed you that is going to be the last color in my Find Your Fade shawl. Well, this is it on fiber. I'm having a lot of fun playing with these speckled colorways on fiber because unlike on yarn where you get those really bold speckles, on fiber the speckles diffuse into the fiber, and so when you spin it up you're going to have those little stranded pops of color, but they're going to be more muted than they are in the yarn. I think they're so much fun. I can't wait to spin one of these up myself, actually. All right, so I have some Willoughby, and on Polworth Silk, I've got Pink Cadillac, which is that colorway that I'm using for that one shawl. I've got some Smooth Sailing Sunny Skies on Polworth Silk as well. I love how this turned out on this fiber. I think this is gorgeous. And they look so much different than they do on yarn. And lastly, this is some mixed BFL. So this is the BFL that is like the natural colors, but it's the light and dark natural color together. And then you over dye it. This is Purple Haze on that. And I love how that turned out because it's just so rich whenever you dye that, over dye that darker BFL. So there's some of those. Yeah, there's 2 of each of those, I think, left in the shop. I don't know. You'll see. The listings will tell you how many, but I'm pretty sure I've got at least two of all of those. Okay, so that is everything that's going to be in the shop this week. There will be one more show leftovers shop update, and that will be the following Friday, the 19th at 6 p.m. And that will have everything else. So, and that is mostly like tonal and variegated and speckled yarns, mini sets. I I think that's probably it. I think that's what I'm down to. I have the tonal and variegated stuff. Oh, and DK weight. I have DK weight self-striping and semi-solids. That'll be next week as well. But the variegated and speckles that I'll have for next week are going to be on fingering weight and worsted and the mega, the bulky weight. So lots of weights of those. But again, that's not till the 19th. This week is inversibles, gradients that I just showed you, and fiber. So, okay. Additionally, shop news. I have a new Instagram account that I started this week specifically for the shop. I've always had my Instagram account, which is Fiber Nymph. That started out mostly as kind of a personal, here, let me show you what I'm knitting, and oh, look at the flower in my garden, things like that. I never really intended that to be a business account. Like where I was posting a lot of businessy stuff. But over the course of the past couple years, I have started to post some business posts there. Like when there's going to be an update, I'll post like a preview picture, or if I have a club coming out, I'll post that. But I feel kind of funny doing that because even though the majority of the people who follow me on Instagram are knitters and presumably watch the podcast at some point or another or know my yarn, I feel funny using what started out as a personal Instagram account for my business stuff as much as I would like to be using it. And that's the other thing. I have other things that I would like to be able to share about the business through Instagram because it's a great way to show you pictures of things, but I don't want to inundate people who are on my Instagram, who follow my Instagram, who aren't interested in that. And I don't want it to seem spammy. So I started a new Instagram account just for the business stuff, and it is Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and I will put that down here. So please, this is actually the very first time I have mentioned it anywhere. So there's nobody following me right now on that. It's just me. I mean, unless somebody has accidentally found it and started following me. I haven't actually checked it since I created it the other day. But please, 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 if you are interested in seeing posts about, things about the shop, things about clubs, special events, anything like that, please follow me. I promise I'm not going to post 10 pictures a day or anything. You're not going to get spammed that way. I just want a dedicated space on Instagram where I can feel like it's okay to share business-oriented stuff without irritating people is basically what I want to be able to do. So what I am going to do, though, in order to encourage people to follow the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Instagram account, is I am going to do drawings for $25 gift certificates to the shop over the course of 3 different weeks. So on May 20th, May 27th, and June 3rd, each of those days, I will do a drawing from the followers of the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Instagram. And if you are chosen, you will get a $25 gift certificate to my shop. Please, word of mouth is a wonderful way to spread the word. So I am just asking you, out of the kindness of your heart, if you would, be willing to share that information, with your friends on Instagram who you think might be interested in seeing what I have to share. Or you don't have to, it's fine. But if you feel like doing that, you can. I am going to be posting a post to my regular Instagram account letting people know that I have the new one. And so if you see that and you want to repost that on my behalf, please feel free to do so. I would appreciate it. But again, I will be doing drawings for gift certificates just as a way to encourage following for the actual shop page or the shop account. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Just another way for you to stay in touch with what's going on in the shop if you like my stuff. Lastly, I have the Legends, Myths, and Fairy Tales Club coming up. The Self-Striping Yarn Club. This will be the heavier weight yarns. I did an informational video about that since the last time I talked to you. I did that on Saturday, so that is up on YouTube. You may have already seen it. I also have the whole information thread started in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group that has everything you need to know about the club. So you can find all the details there. I will say I misspoke last week on the regular podcast episode when I said it was going to include sport weight yarn as one of the options. That is incorrect. This is a heavyweight yarn club. It's going to be DK, worsted, and bulky weight this time around. So you can choose to have one of those for all 3 of your shipments, or you can choose the option of getting one of those each shipment. So you would end up with 1 shipment of each of those over the course of the club. Anyway, I am super excited about this club. I'm really excited about the theme. I love that type of literature. I know a lot of you do too. So the signups for that are going to go live tomorrow morning, Wednesday the 10th at 9 a.m. Eastern. I will add the sign up link that will take you to the sign up questionnaire at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. That will be in the thread on Ravelry. I will also post it to the Fiber Dye Works page on Facebook. I'll probably also post it to the new Instagram account now that I think about it, since it's there. So you will be able to find that link in those 3 locations. How this is going to work, there's going to be 30 spots available. As I get the questionnaires in, it'll be just like I did with the Pie Club. As your questionnaire comes to me, I will send you a confirmation email giving you all your information, letting you know that I have a reserved listing set up for you in the shop in order for you to pay for your membership or your first shipment, whichever payment method you choose. And once you're paid, then that confirms your membership spot. There will be like a deadline for the payment, but that'll be ample time. So anyway, I really, really hope that you'll be excited about this club, because I really am, and I can't wait to do it. So it's funny because every time I put clubs out there, I'm like, what if nobody wants to join it? Hopefully somebody will want to join this one. I've had requests for a club like this, so I'm really hoping that this goes well. So, because I know the heavier weight yarns aren't everybody's bag. Just as sort of a really, really far out heads up, as far as the Traveler sport weight, because I know Traveler really does have its followers who love it, I am planning to do a Traveler specific yarn club later this year, but that won't be till fall, so you have a little bit of a wait. But I just thought I'd throw that out there in case you're disappointed that it's not going to be a part of this club. So, all right, that is everything. I'm going to save what I was going to talk about, the summer knit along for the club. I'll talk about that next week, just because I don't want this to be any longer. This is a super long episode. But yeah, I hope you have a good week. Again, remember there are, well, if you've gotten this far, it doesn't matter. I was going to say, remember, there's timestamps. But yeah, that's everything I'm going to say. Have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.